am Ilara Marlowe, 34 years old, working as a financial analyst in Seattle. For 5 years, I saved every penny for my dream home, making sacrifices most people would never understand. Last month, our family reunion should have been a time of joy and connection. Instead, it became the moment my own sister and her husband Caden stole everything I had worked for. When I confronted them, Caden simply sneered and said those words I will never forget. Before I continue this heartbreaking story, let me know where you are watching from and hit subscribe if you have ever had to stand up to family who took advantage of you. Trust me, what happened next changed everything. My life in Seattle had been stable and predictable for the past 8 years. As a financial analyst at Horizon Equity, I had built a reputation for meticulous attention to detail and sound investment advice. The irony that I could protect millions of dollars for wealthy clients, but failed to protect my own savings still stings to this day. My apartment was small, just a one-bedroom in the northern neighborhood near Green Lake. Nothing fancy, but it was mine. I drove a 10-year-old Subaru that was paid off. I brought lunch to work every day while colleagues ordered delivery. Every small sacrifice was part of my plan. You see, I had a dream of owning a beautiful vintage townhouse in Queen Anne. Not a mansion, just a cozy 3-bedroom with charm and history where I could build a life. For 5 years, I put away 30% of every paycheck. I skipped vacations, bought clothes at thrift stores, and said no to expensive nights out. My friends sometimes called me boring, but I had my eye on something bigger than temporary pleasures. I wanted stability, security, and a place to truly call my own. My younger sister, Sienna, never understood this mindset. Growing up, she was always the favorite, though our parents would never admit it. She was the pretty one, the social butterfly, the one who could charm our parents into giving her anything she wanted. I was the responsible one, the planner, the one who everyone assumed would be fine without extra attention or support. When Sienna met Caden 3 years ago, I had reservations from the start. He was charming, sure, with his perfectly styled hair and confident smile, but something about him felt off. He talked big about his business ventures and future plans, but the details always seemed vague. Within 6 months of dating, they were married in a lavish ceremony that our parents paid for despite their own retirement savings taking a hit. After the wedding, Sienna changed. The sister who once shared everything with me became secretive. Her calls became less frequent, and when we did talk, the conversation often revolved around the expensive things Caden was supposedly going to buy her once his latest business deal went through. Those deals never seemed to materialize, though. The pattern started small. First, it was Caden borrowing $200 to fix his car, promising to pay it back the next week. The next week turned into the next month, which turned into never. Then it was $600 for a business opportunity that was allegedly going to pay triple within 30 days. Then $1,200 when their rent was late because of some mix-up with Caden's pay. Each time I tried to set boundaries. Each time I was called selfish. My parents sided with Sienna as they always had. They constantly reminded me that family helps family, that Sienna and Caden were just going through a rough patch, that I had it easier because I only had myself to worry about. Last year, Sienna called crying because their electricity was about to be shut off. I paid their $350 bill directly to the utility company. A week later, she posted pictures of her and Caden at an expensive restaurant downtown. When I mentioned it, she got defensive and accused me of monitoring her life. I stopped following her on social media after that. Despite all this, I had finally reached my goal. $112,000 saved for a down payment. My real estate agent, Marina, had found the perfect property just 2 blocks from Cary Park. It needed some cosmetic updates, but the bones were good, and the location was everything I had dreamed of. The market was moving fast, and Marina warned me we would need to act quickly when the sellers accepted offers. The timing couldn't have been worse. The family reunion at my parents' lake cabin in Idaho had been planned for months. It was a tradition, one that brought together not just our immediate family, but cousins, aunts, and uncles from across the country. I considered skipping it, making an excuse about work, but family traditions were important to me despite everything. I thought I could attend the 3-day weekend and still be back in time to move forward with the house. That decision would cost me everything I had worked for. The drive to my parents' cabin took 6 hours from Seattle. As I pulled up the gravel driveway, I could see cars already parked everywhere. The large log cabin sat on 15 acres overlooking a glimmering lake, a property my grandfather had built and that had been in our family for generations. The smell of pine trees and the sound of water lapping at the shore brought back childhood memories of happier times. Uncle Henry was the first to greet me, his booming voice carrying across the yard as I grabbed my overnight bag from the trunk. Aunt Marie hurried over to give me a warm hug, asking about work and life in the city. My cousins Elias and Harper waved from where they were setting up lawn games. For a moment, I felt the tension in my shoulders release. This was family. Was home. Then I saw Caden walking toward me, a wide smile on his face. That was the first red flag. Caden had never been particularly friendly to me. Usually, he would offer a quick hello and then find an excuse to be elsewhere. But now, he was approaching with open arms as if we were the best of friends. "Good to see you, Ilara." "Here, let me take that," he said, reaching for my bag. "You look great. That promotion must be treating you well." I felt immediately on edge. I hadn't been promoted recently. And I certainly hadn't told Caden about my work situation. I thanked him cautiously and looked around for my sister. Sienna stood on the porch watching us. When our eyes met, she quickly looked away and busied herself with something in the cooler. Another red flag. As we walked toward the cabin, I noticed Caden's wrist. He was wearing a watch I recognized from the luxury displays I sometimes admired. A Tag Heuer Carrera, easily a $6,000 timepiece. He also pulled out the latest smartphone, not just the base model but the elite version with max storage. When I asked about it, he laughed and said his business was finally taking off. "What business?" I asked. "Oh, investments and stuff. It's all very technical," he replied vaguely. Inside the cabin, my parents greeted me warmly. Mom, busy in the kitchen making her famous sweet potato salad, while Dad was organizing the coolers for the weekend. As we caught up, I kept noticing Sienna, hovering nearby, her behavior unusually tense. She was wearing a new diamond-studded bracelet that sparkled under the lights. Just last month, she had called complaining about how they could barely afford groceries. During dinner that evening, conversation flowed around the large outdoor tables on the deck overlooking the lake. I sat next to my favorite cousin, May, who was now a nurse in Boise. As we caught up, I excitedly shared my news about finding the perfect house. "It's everything I ever wanted," I told her. 3 bedrooms, original hardwood floors, a little garden in the back. I can already picture myself having coffee on the front steps in the morning. I noticed Caden had stopped his conversation and was listening closely. He slid over nearer to us. "That's amazing, Ilara. Congratulations," he said smoothly. "So, what's the timeline look like? When do you close?" I explained I was planning to submit an offer as soon as I returned to Seattle, hopefully closing within 30 days if all went well. "And you've got all the money ready to go, all in one account?" Caden asked, his questions becoming oddly specific. At the time, I didn't think much of it. People are often curious about real estate transactions, and I was excited to talk about my plans. I shared that yes, I had been saving for years and had everything ready for the down payment. After dinner, as everyone was helping clean up, Caden approached me again. His phone was in his hand and he looked annoyed. "My phone just died and I need to check something important for work. Do you mind if I borrow yours for just a minute?" Without thinking twice, I unlocked my phone and handed it to him. My mom called for help in the kitchen and I spent the next 15 minutes washing dishes and storing leftovers. When I returned to the living room, Caden casually handed back my phone, thanking me for the favor. Later that night, as I was getting ready for bed in the small room I was sharing with May, I checked my own emails. I noticed my banking app had been opened recently, which struck me as odd since I hadn't checked it that day. I dismissed it as a glitch. Or maybe I had opened it absent-mindedly earlier. The rest of the weekend was filled with family activities. Saturday morning, fishing off the dock with my dad and uncles. An afternoon hike through the woods with my cousins. A big barbecue at night with stories around the fire pit. For those brief days it felt like old times. Sienna even seemed to relax as the weekend progressed, joining me for a sunrise walk on Sunday morning, where we talked like we used to years ago. By Sunday afternoon, as everyone was packing up to leave, there were emotional goodbyes and promises to get together more often. My parents hugged me tightly, saying they couldn't wait to see my new house once I closed. Sienna gave me an unusually long embrace, holding on as if she didn't want to let go. "Drive safe," she whispered. And for a moment I thought I saw tears in her eyes. "It's just a 6-hour drive, Scene. It'll be fine," I laughed, not understanding the weight behind her words. Caden gave me another odd hug and said, "Thanks for everything, Elara. You're a good sister. We appreciate you more than you know." As I drove back to Seattle that evening, I felt a renewed sense of optimism. Despite our differences and years of tension, family was still family. Maybe Caden was maturing. Maybe things with Sienna would improve. Maybe we could all support each other better. I had no idea that at that very moment, everything I had worked for was already gone. Monday morning I woke up early, excited to call my real estate agent Marina, to move forward with the offer on the house. I made coffee, sat at my small kitchen table, and opened my laptop to review the property details one more time before making the call. Everything looked perfect: the neighborhood, the layout, the potential. This was going to be my home. At 8:30 I called Marina. She answered on the second ring, her voice cheerful and energetic as always. "Elara, I was just about to call you. The sellers are reviewing offers today. Are you ready to move forward?" "Absolutely," I told her confidently. "I just need to transfer the down payment to my checking account so it's ready for the earnest money deposit." "Perfect," she replied. "If you can get that done this morning, we'll submit everything by noon." I hung up and opened my banking app on my phone, entering my password and waiting for the account to load. When the numbers appeared on the screen, I blinked, convinced there had to be a glitch. I closed the app and reopened it. Account balance: $4,328.44. That couldn't be right. Just 4 days ago, my savings account had contained $112,000. My heart began to race, a cold sweat breaking across my forehead. I navigated to the transaction history, my hands shaking so badly I had to try 3 times to tap the correct option. There it was. 3 separate transfers, all processed over the weekend. A Friday night, $37,000 transferred to an unfamiliar account. A Saturday afternoon, $37,000 to another unknown account. A Sunday morning, $38,000 to a third. All authorized from my device. My entire body went numb. The room spun around me. I stumbled to the bathroom and threw up the coffee I had just sipped. This couldn't be happening. Had to be fraud. With trembling hands, I called my bank's fraud department. After confirming my identity, I was placed on hold, the upbeat music mocking the devastation unfolding in my life. Finally, a representative answered. "Miss Marlowe, I've reviewed the transactions," the woman said calmly. "These appear to be authorized transfers made from your registered mobile device using your correct login credentials." "But I didn't make them," cried desperate. "I was at a family reunion all weekend. Someone must have accessed my phone." The representative paused before asking, "Was there any point when someone else had access to your unlocked device?" The memory slammed into me. Hidden. Borrowing my phone. The banking app opened later that night. His specific questions about my down payment. The expensive watch. The new phone. Sienna's new diamond bracelet. Their sudden friendliness. I ended the call after they explained the investigation process, but I already knew. I tried calling Sienna straight to voicemail. Again. Same result. Texts unread. Called Caden. No answer. Panic choking me, I called my parents. "Ilara, honey. What a lovely surprise," my mother answered, cheerfully unaware. "Did you get home safely?" "Mom, I need to know something. Have you heard from Sienna and Caden today?" "Oh yes. They stopped by this morning to show off their new SUV," she said proudly. "Caden said his investment paid off big time. They might take a vacation to celebrate." New SUV. Investment paid off. Vacation. Every word was a blade twisting in my chest. "Mom, I have to go. I'll call you back." I collapsed onto my couch, staring at the wall, unable to comprehend how quickly my life had fallen apart. My own sister. Her husband. They didn't just take money. They stole my future. Everything I had sacrificed for. I called my best friend, Lana, barely able to breathe as I told her what happened. "Ilara, listen to me," she said firmly. "You need to call the police right now. This is a crime." "But she's my sister," I whispered, voice cracking. "My family." "That makes it worse, not better," Lana shot back. "If you let them get away with this, they will keep taking from you. You have to fight." Her words struck me like a drumbeat of truth. I wiped my tears and stood up, feeling a shift deep inside me. "I'm going to their house," I said. "I need answers. Do you want me to come?" "No. I have to do this myself. But stay by your phone." The 6-hour drive to their suburban home felt endless. My thoughts churned from heartbreak to fury and back again. When I finally pulled onto their street, the evidence was parked right there. A black Cadillac Escalade with temporary plates, gleaming like a trophy. Through the window, I saw shopping bags from high-end stores littering the living room. My dreams, their luxury. I rang the doorbell. Caden opened it, surprise flickering across his face before disappearing behind smugness. "Ilara," he said casually, blocking the doorway. "This is unexpected." "We need to talk," I replied, pushing past him into the house. Sienna was frozen mid-motion, pulling something from a designer bag. Her eyes filled with guilt. "I think you know what this is about," I said, voice cracking like lightning. Held up my phone. "My money is gone. All of it." Caden's expression turned cold. He crossed his arms. "Prove it." I showed them the transfers. The timestamps. The amounts. Tears filled Sienna's eyes. Caden didn't flinch. "So what if we did?" he finally sneered. "We needed it more than you. You're single with no kids. We have expenses." My jaw dropped. "This was my home," I gasped. 5 years of sacrifice. "It's just money," Caden shrugged. "You can save more. You're good at that, right? And," he added with a smirk, "maybe next time don't leave your phone unlocked." Something in me snapped. My voice was low. "Dangerous. I'm reporting this." Caden laughed. Actually laughed. "Go ahead. Who's the family going to believe? The responsible one who never needs help? Or the sister who's always been struggling? You think Mom and Dad will side with you? Please." I looked at Sienna, pleading with her eyes. "Help me understand. Please tell me you didn't mean for this to happen." She stared at the floor. "Ilara, you always seem to have everything under control." Thought, "I don't know, you'd be fine." That was it. There was no apology. No remorse. Just entitlement. I turned and walked out the door, shaking with rage and devastation. I didn't make it far before I had to pull over again, sobbing so hard I could barely breathe. Lana came to get me, and I spent the drive back to Seattle staring out the window, feeling more betrayed than I ever had in my life. Family had broken me. But as the city skyline came into view, something inside me hardened. I wasn't done. I wasn't defeated. I was going to fight back, no matter the cost. The next few days passed in a blur of grief and shock. I called in sick to work, unable to face colleagues or clients in my current state. My apartment, which had always felt like a stepping stone toward something greater, now felt like a cage holding the shattered pieces of my dreams. Every corner reminded me of what I had lost and who had taken it from me. By Wednesday morning, An email from Marina appeared in my inbox. Great news. The sellers accepted offers yesterday. Are you ready to submit yours? I stared at the screen, tears blurring the words. The perfect house, the one I had pictured myself in for years, would go to someone else. With trembling hands, I typed a response explaining I could no longer afford it due to an unexpected financial setback. I didn't mention the betrayal. Marina wrote back, full of sympathy and encouragement that other homes would come one day. But we both knew it would take years to rebuild what was gone. Years I shouldn't have had to repeat. By Thursday, my parents had left multiple voicemails sounding increasingly frustrated. I finally answered. "Ilara, what is going on?" my father demanded. "Sienna says you're accusing her and Caden of stealing money. She's devastated." Of course they had gotten to my parents first. "They stole my savings," I said plainly. "All $112,000. The bank has proof. Transfers from my phone while they were using it." "Honey," my mother chimed in gently. "Even if there was a misunderstanding." "There is no misunderstanding," I cut in sharply. "They committed a crime." My father sighed heavily. "Ilara, is it really worth tearing the family apart over money? You're strong. You can rebuild. You want me to just let them get away with it?" My voice shook. Anger and heartbreak knotted together. "We could help you," my mother offered hesitantly. "Not the full amount, but maybe some to get you started again. Family must stick together." Stick together. Always directed at me, the one who already sacrificed. "I need to go," I said and hung up. I sat there, stunned, hurt, abandoned again. But I wasn't giving up. That evening, Lana showed up with groceries and a bottle of wine. "I'm activating emergency best friend measures," she declared, dropping everything onto my counter. "You're not letting this go, right? What choice do I have?" I muttered. "You fight back," she said. "For yourself. Because you matter." She connected me with a fraud attorney, Elias Rowan, who agreed to meet the next day. He was confident from the moment he heard my story. "You have a very strong case, Miss Marlowe," he said, reviewing the timeline. "Digital theft from a close family member is still theft. And the law takes banking fraud very seriously. Will I have to testify?" I asked, dread coiling in my stomach. "Most likely," he replied. "Family fraud cases are painful. But perpetrators rely on that emotional conflict to escape consequences." He was right. I spent the next week gathering every piece of evidence. Security footage from the lake cabin porch timestamps lining up perfectly with the first transfer, screenshots of Caden's sudden spending spree, and documentation of every unpaid loan I had given them over the years. Piece by piece, my heartbreak became ammunition. Justice was forming. Finally, Elias presented me with legal documents to file both criminal and civil action. Tomorrow everything would change. I barely slept that night. Saturday morning, I drove back to Caden and Sienna's house. Not defeated this time, but fueled by fire and absolute resolve. My designer bag, a gift from a grateful client, held everything. The truth. The proof. My courage. I texted them earlier saying we needed to talk. They didn't suspect a thing. Caden opened the door with that same cocky smirk, the one I would no longer fear. "Ilara. Back to continue the family drama." "I'd like to come in," I said calmly. Sienna was on the couch surrounded by shopping bags, her face going pale when she saw me. "I'm giving you one chance," I said. "Return the money. Or this goes legal." Caden laughed. "Still on that fantasy. The money was from my investment paying off. Your accusations are ridiculous." He leaned closer. "Even your parents think you're overreacting. You're outnumbered." He had no idea what was coming. Bam. A loud knock shook the door. Caden flinched, confused. When he opened it, 2 police officers stepped inside along with a woman from the bank's fraud unit, Detective Karina Wells, and my attorney Elias right behind them. Caden's face drained of color. "Caden Hale?" the officer asked, already knowing the answer. We have a warrant to question you in connection with multiple acts of digital theft. Caden sputtered, looking wildly at Sienna. Before he could deny anything, Elias handed him papers. These are the civil lawsuit documents. We are seeking full restitution, plus damages. Then the bank investigator added. The fraudulent transfers were traced to accounts you opened 3 days before the family reunion. This is federal-level financial crime. Caden's lips trembled. He turned to Sienna, desperate. But she was already unraveling. I told you this was wrong, she sobbed, collapsing into the cushions. He planned it all, Ilara. He said you'd just shrug it off and rebuild. He said no one would believe you. Shut up, Caden hissed. But the officers were already moving forward. As they placed cuffs on him, he glared at me like I had destroyed his life. You did this, he snapped. No, I replied evenly. You did. Right then the door opened again, my parents stepping inside with Aunt Marie and Uncle Henry. They froze at the scene before them. Ilara, what happened? My mother whispered. I turned toward them, not broken anymore but strong. Caden stole my future. And I am taking it back. Silence. Truth finally undeniable. Sienna cried harder. I was jealous, she choked out. You always had control. I thought you'd be fine. But you took everything I had, I said. Fine has nothing to do with it. The police escorted Caden outside. The bank investigator documented the designer purchases, evidence purchased with my sacrifice. My parents' regret hung heavy in the air. And I walked out, not defeated but victorious. 3 months later, the court ordered Caden to repay every dollar, $112,000, plus $15,000 in damages. His shiny SUV was seized. The luxury items sold. He got probation and 200 hours of community service. Sienna moved back with our parents. Their marriage crumbled. She eventually filed for separation, and began counseling to understand why she let jealousy drive her to ruin the one person who always helped her. My relationship with her is complicated. We are rebuilding slowly with boundaries, strong ones. My parents finally admitted they had been enabling her for years. And they apologized. Sincerely. 6 months after the betrayal, I found a new townhouse. Smaller than my original dream home, but filled with hope and earned security. Lana helped me move in, eating takeout on the floor, laughing like we used to. She raised her glass. To new beginnings, she said. To strength, I replied. 1 year after it all fell apart, I hosted a small housewarming. My parents came. Sienna came. Quieter, humbled, working hard to rebuild trust. Caden did not. I looked around the room at the people who truly loved me. My house wasn't as big as the one I originally wanted. But I was bigger, stronger, smarter, unbreakable. If you have ever had to stand up to family who tried to take advantage of you, know this. Protecting your boundaries isn't selfish. It's survival. Thank you for being here, and remember, the moment you choose yourself is the moment everything finally changes. Stay strong. I'll see you in the next video.